Hello witches and warlocks, and welcome back to my channel. It's very nice to see you again. So this is the fourth part in the how to make your Book of Shadows tutorial, and you're following me along my path to making my own journal and my own Book of Shadows or grimoire, whatever you decide you want to call it. So this is our step 4, like I said. You would have seen previously in step 3 that we added our string to the binding of our book, or the spine of our book, to make it look a bit more authentic. So we did that, and we also stuck the front and back boards to make the rest of the book. And we were left it there to dry, which has done now. It's all dry, and we're going on to step 4, which is covering our book. Now, you'll need a couple of things for this. Like I said, PVA glue. Still using that, so you need to make sure you've got that. You'll need your ruler. It's quite essential in this part. Obviously, we need something to put the glue on with and brush it. You will need your leather as well. So you will need your leather, just like this, or pleather, depending on what you are using. You'll need some scissors as well. Okay, so they're the things you'll need if you want to go and grab those, or make sure you've got those to hand. And maybe grab yourself a drink, pause the video, and get yourself set up, ready to go. Now make sure you've got something covering the table. You will need some sort of coverage, whether that be newspaper or plastic, or a tablecloth. Anything you've got that can protect the table would be handy. So should we go on to step 4? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the camera, hopefully a little bit more graceful, and show you what's down here. So here we go. Let's move you back just a tad. There we go. So as you can see, this is all dry now. Wood's all dry, and I have already taken the liberty of actually doing my first part of my book. Okay, so I've done the first covering, so you can see this is what we're going to do today. So what you need to do before you start off, excuse me, I've got a little bit of a cough today. So what we're going to do is we are going to cut your leather to the correct spacing. So what I've done is I've already marked that out on the back here. Now hopefully you can see that on camera. Let me get it a bit more further forward. There we go. So you can see I've cut that out, and it's got, along this edge is the edge that's going to go towards your spine. So that's going to go along your spine. And then around the outside, I've done a border. Now, this is what you're going to fold over on the other side, okay? So I did that by obviously taking the board and measuring it out, or you can do it by ruler. Just measure out A4, or take a A4 piece of paper and draw around it. So that's what I did first. So I drew around it, an A4 paper, and then on 3 sides, I just measured out the amount of excess that I wanted on the end of the book. So I've done 3 centimeters, which is quite a lot. You don't have to necessarily do that. You could do about 1 centimeter, maybe even 1.5 if you wanted to. I like to have a little bit of leeway. It doesn't matter because you're not going to see any of that. It's just going to be covered up. So yeah, I've done it along 3 sides just like that. So that's just added to my extra thing. So what we're going to do, once you've got your little shape, we're going to cut that out. Now, I know that everyone out there who's watching this will be all-knowing of how to cut out a shape. But for the sake of the video, I'm going to show you how I do it. So basically what I've done is I've taken a section of my pleather, and I did it in the middle of the pleather. So I took a middle section, just put my board down, drew around it, and then added some extra. Now again, it doesn't matter, okay, what you draw on the back of this, because it's not going to be seen. Okay, so you don't have to worry. Make sure you follow that line. If you've got a little bit of extra, we want to make it nice and neat as much as we can. Okay, again, it doesn't matter. It's not the end of the world. As long as your straight line here that's going against your binding or your spine is fairly neat. Again, all of this makes no difference because all of this will be covered up. So as long as you've got the exact amount to cover and a little bit of excess, it doesn't really matter how neat it's cut because it's all going to be hidden anyway. So if you do make a mistake, it doesn't matter. Don't start again. If you go over just a little, it doesn't matter. You know, if you go a bit too far in, again, it doesn't matter because it's all going to go over the top as long as you've got enough to cover your board and it's fairly neat against the spine-ish, because again, in our next step, we are going to cover the spine anyway, so that's going to come over slightly anyway. Now, so I've cut out my piece that I need. Okay, so as I say, along here is where he's going to go to your spine, and all around here is where you're going to go with your folding over. So now you've got the perfect piece to go on. Okay, now the next thing you have to do, which made it a little bit easier for me, was this next step. Now, for this next step, I took one of my silver pens that I bought from the pound shop. I got 6 in a pack. I got gold and silver, 3 of each. And this is where it comes in handy. And we will be using this again later. But for now, this is what I used it for. So, take your ruler, and obviously I can't see where it all begins and where my markings are, which is a little bit difficult if you try and lay it down. So what I've done is I am going to go onto my board just like this with my ruler. I'm going to go up to the line, and because I did 3 centimeter, I'm going to make a little bit of a mark just there. I don't know if that shows up on camera or not because it's only a little dot, but I'll bring it closer. See, made a little bit of a mark there because that's where my fold over starts. Okay, so I'm going to do the same on the other side. Just line it up like so. I do apologise, it's a bit boring, but I find sometimes it's nicer to have someone to watch and see how they do things, because it's okay explaining sometimes, but sometimes it's easier to watch somebody. So as you can see, I've got a mark there and a mark there. Again, you won't see those marks because the spine's going to be covered with another piece of leather and it's going to go over the top of these marks. You're not going to notice them at all. Okay. So now, as you can see, I've got a mark to go by so that I can see exactly where my thing has to go, where my piece of leather has to go. So it's roughly about there. Again, it doesn't make a lot of difference. I just like to be a little bit more cautious to know that when I stick it down, it's going to go in the right place I want it to go in. But again, it doesn't matter because as long as you've got something covering it and it goes over and there's enough to fold over, excuse me, it doesn't matter. Okay, so you just need to get some coverage. So next thing we have to do is take our PVA glue, put some in the middle, there we go. Now again, with PVA glue, take your time with this, spread it out nice and even. Okay, go right to the edges. You want to go as much to the edges as possible. It doesn't matter if it goes slightly over into the creases, because it's all going to be covered and stick anyway. And the more glue and the more things sticking everything down, the better, I say. So take and work it out from the middle. Again, you can do this bit by bit if you want to. I'm just doing this for speed, because nothing worse than watching a video where they say you might as well be watching paint dry, and at the moment you're just watching glue dry, so it's about the same thing. So spread that out, make sure there's even coat. Okay, we try not to make it so that we have big globs in the middle. We want to spread that out, and again, take your time, because that's drying as we speak, and we don't mind that at all, because a little bit of tackiness helps with the placing anyway. So spread that middle section now. Let's get it everywhere. Okay, so some of it will soak into the board, which is good. Okay, it will start to soak, and you'll see it dry, a bit clear. Again, doesn't matter where it goes, as long as you've covered. Okay, I like to be a little bit thorough with the glue. Okay, that should be about it. So we've now covered our little bit of that. So let's get the paintbrush out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to see if you can maybe see this a little bit better. Put this down here. Okay, let's move this over. Okay. Alright, so once you've done that, we are going to cover that board up. Okay. So I'm going to see if I can bring, there we go. Right, so we're now in, well, remember we had those two little marks. So that's going to be where you're going to go to the edge of your board using those. Again, placement for me, okay, is okay, but again, not majorly something I'm going to worry about, as long as my board's covered. Okay, so the next step is to make sure you get all the bubbles out. So again, take your time. This is why I say to cover your board, cover your table, cover your board, because you're going to press that down. Make sure you get all the corners. Okay, be nice and firm with it. Get those bubbles out. If you feel any. Good thing about PVA is that if you're patient, and that's what it takes with this, is patience really. It's not going to be something you can do overnight, not something you can really do straight away. Trust me, I did one and I was very impatient with my first book, and I wanted it done yesterday. So I got myself a glue gun, which I'm not saying, you know, don't do. It's fine if you want to get a glue gun. I wouldn't recommend it. Dries very quickly and dries in big lumps, and you get bubbles and you get lumpy bits, and mine didn't stick very well. It came away, which is why I'm doing a new one. So that is, I think, firmly down. Again. So now I can lift that off and make sure that we have done a fairly good job there. What I didn't show you on camera last time is that along the spine here I put some masking tape, because where the glue was sticking to the board, it was pulling a little bit away and it was starting to rip and tear and stuff. Okay, I hadn't even noticed that was the case. Oh. Now this is really hard. I'm just showing you how that works, but again, what you want to do is try not to move it once you've done it, because you want that to stick. Okay, Now this is where the patience comes in. Okay, because it should stick nice. You just have to leave it to dry. Now I did this one before I set the camera up, so this one's fairly new as well. So they're both gone down pretty much at the same time, only I did one on camera and one off camera, just so I didn't bore you with those things there. So there you go. So that is your next step. Okay, so we've covered up, and then in our next video I will be showing you how we're going to turn it over and fold it over and do what we need to do to fold it around the boards, okay, to make the first covering of our books. And we've got these two covering, which we are done now, so make sure they're all nice and neat and how you want them, and then they can set and get dry. Again, don't worry too much, okay, because the little marks that I've made with the silver pens are going to be covered up anyway, and to be honest with you, they rub off anyway. If you're really that fussed, they do rub off. And yeah, that's our next step. So if you want to do that, cut those out, place them, do what I've done. The next step will be to cover our spine again, which is going to cover some of these anyway, which I'll go through next time. Yeah, so that is your book. So I'm going to come back up and say hello. So yeah, so that's your book. The fourth step of your book anyway. I'm gonna love you and leave you now and let you get on with that step, and then we're gonna come back with step 5 and show you the next step. Now again, these are just gonna come up hopefully weekly, so if you are now, you know, on this step and it's only a couple of days before the next one goes up anyway, and we'll go into the next one. Again, with this book, it's patience, okay? And you must be prepared to take your time and do it with love and intent, because this is going to be your book. This is going to be the book that you're going to work with, okay? You want this to be your working book. And if this isn't your working book and you're just doing this for a dream journal or a spell book, that's totally fine. You know, you can use the same steps. This is just a basic of a book, okay? But this is going to be my Book of Shadows, which is going to be my working Book of Shadows, which means everything I'm doing, I'm putting intent and love and passion and all the things that I want from my spell work and my craft to go into this book, because this is just like every single other one of your tools on your altar. This is a tool that you're going to be using to help in your spellcraft or your Wicca or your paganism, you know, into your witchcraft. So if this is going to be your Book of Shadows, remember that when you are doing this, take your time, don't rush it. It doesn't need to be done yesterday. This isn't something that's going to take, you know, 2 days or, you know, whatever. It's fine. I mean, if you want to do it in 2 days, that's up to you. You know, you be you. You do what you need to do. I like to take my time, and trust me, I rushed my last book and it didn't work. It just didn't feel right. It wasn't right for me. It was falling apart. It just looked messy. And don't get me wrong, I'm not fussed about it looking a bit shabby or a little bit not right here or there. But I want to take my time with this one. And so, yeah, take your time. You know, it's just like, you know, being in the Wiccan or pagan society. You just have to take your time with learning and take it all in bit by bit. Don't rush it, because it doesn't need to be rushed. This is a journey. It's, you know, you haven't got a destination with the craft. It's a journey, and you're on it for the rest of your life. And you just take your time, breathe, enjoy it, enjoy the making, enjoy the intent, enjoy the fun of making your Book of Shadows. So with that in mind, I'm going to say goodbye, and remember, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, you be you, and blessed be.